Everybody know that. Don't hold back, got you on go jack. Go DJ, that's my DJ. Party on replay, party on replay.
Welcome to our first episode. Today's interview is with Kathleen Gentes, bringing us a new story of hope. Let's get to know her.
My husband and I are both music teachers and church musicians. I'm a church organist.
Okay, so I would like to hear more about your experience as a teacher and all what you have achieved with your husband in this band.
As a teacher or as church musicians, it kind of wraps together. We've been married almost 50 years. We'll be 50 years this summer. We both were music teachers, graduated from Luther College in Decorah, Iowa, started our teaching careers in Minnesota, and moved to the Chicago area. I taught choral music and instrumental music at the junior high level, my husband high school and college, and we were church musicians for 47 years. George was choir director, I was organist.
If you had to describe that experience with one word, what would it be and why?
Oh boy, one word, joy. Joy, fulfillment, yeah.
Why?
As a musician and as a teacher, music becomes part of your being and something you have to do, and it's something that's fabulous to share. And it's been our joy to share that with so many kids, adults now, and to know that we have brought some joy to them, to adults. We've traveled many times to Europe with our church choir. That church choir became our family, and we cling to them as friends and as Christian family, and music has been the basis of all of that.
How was your relationship with those students?
I taught junior high, and I wanted this particular job so that I could have the theater program for my husband's high school program. So I would get these students for 2 years at the junior high level, 7th and 8th grade, and I would encourage them to join that high school music program. And then my husband would have them for 4 years, and we had the joy of having influence on those students for 6 years and having relationship with them. And many of those students have become dear friends as we've gotten older.
What happened to you recently and to your husband, talking in personal life, and how this happened?
Yeah, my husband was diagnosed with ampullary pancreatic cancer in January of 22. Big shock. He's always been a super healthy man. So we were starting a new journey. Pretty shocking, as it is for anyone. But pancreatic cancer particularly frightening. So we had a lot to think about. We had a lot to connect, to decide how we were going to approach this. And as a musician, you practice and practice and practice those scales, and you practice the chords, and you practice certain passages over and over and over again, so that you, when it comes to the big performance, that it just is kind of natural. And that's what practice does. So in our Christian life, you practice that prayer life, peace, practicing a Christian life for the big performance. And in our case, this cancer diagnosis was our big performance, and we had to rely on the faith that we had practiced for all these years to get us through this new challenge.
And that's something very hard to do.
We did it together. And when we got the diagnosis and realized how serious it was, we had a wonderful, we found a devotion program that we used, and we would do that each morning. And the day that the day that we heard the diagnosis, it was difficult for me to know how to process this. And I'm a person that likes to have a plan for things. So as we sat there that morning, George said to me, he says, "Kath, I'm not afraid to die, but I don't think I'm going to from this." He said, I feel like God has much more for me to do, and I don't feel like I'm going to die from this. And that was exactly what I needed to hear then, because it gave me a power inside that I was able to say, okay, we're going to do this. And then I got busy and figured out what the plan was. How are we going to do this? I love the idea of being nutritionally sound. I had faith in our doctors, and I just had to figure out how the doctors, the nutrition, and God and George and I were going to do this. And we put a plan together and went for it. We totally appreciated our doctors in Chicago. They were helpful, kind, knowledgeable, but our surgeon said it's inoperable. It's too serious. It's wrapped around the mesenteric artery. We cannot operate on that. It's too dangerous. So we'll do chemo first. So we did a summer of chemo, really tough chemo. And our oncologist told us this is going to be like a Category 5 hurricane in your gut. This is not going to be pleasant. So we fired up. I studied the nutrition that could help that. We put that in with it, and we managed the summer, and George went through that whole summer with 8 treatments of chemo and was never nauseated once. The doctor said it was only the second time in his entire career that had happened. So we were feeling very good. And we went back to the doctor at Northwestern, and feeling like we are the champion cancer patients. And when we got there, he looked at the scan and he said, "I'm very sorry to tell you this, but the chemo has done nothing. The tumor has not shrunk hardly. It has shrunk hardly at all, and it is still too dangerous to operate. So it is inoperable."
Then what happened?
Sorry?
And then what happened?
Yeah, so we were advised to do radiation. So we were going to go to radiation, but we knew that the only curative thing for this cancer was surgery. As we were dealing with the crushing news that the chemo had done nothing, as we prayed, we got signs, the way I want to think of it anyway. I had my sister-in-law call me and say, "Kath, have you guys thought about, I don't want to intrude, but have you thought about a second opinion?" And that sparked something in me, and I thought, well, of course, why not? So she had done research for a surgeon that was doing wonderful things for pancreatic cancer at the Mayo Clinic. We had lived in Rochester, Minnesota at the beginning of our marriage, so we were very familiar with the Mayo Clinic and loved it. So I called there. We got past everything. We were ready to set the appointment. They looked and realized that they would not accept our insurance. So that was a real blow. So that's one of the moments where I had a college mentor that I loved, Weston Noble, that taught me that no matter what, you praise God for everything. And we felt like God had absolutely opened the door. He had closed the door at Mayo and given us direction directly to be here. And appointments started happening, and at first the news wasn't real good. They thought they saw more spots of cancer on his liver, which meant that it would be stage 4, totally inoperable. And then within a scan, they found out that those were not cancerous, which was a moment of victory for us, or elation. We were elated that the two head doctors of pancreatic cancer surgery here at MD Anderson said they looked at the scan and they felt like they were confident that they could do this surgery. And amazing moment. We could not believe what we were hearing. It was like words from God, that because we knew that surgery was the only curative measure for this cancer.
How was the process of healing in Houston?
Okay, so he had the surgery, and I don't know if I told you this or not, but he ended up with, they had just slightly nicked the colon, so he ended up with sepsis and was in ICU for a week, touch and go. He got out of that, and then they found internal bleeding, and they couldn't figure out where that was coming from, touch and go. And then there was an oxygen issue. He was back in the ICU. So we were in the hospital for 40 days, 40 nights. I was there every morning from 6 o'clock until evening. My brother-in-law came for a while, but it was a grueling 40 days.
And what the doctor says about it after all that?
The doctor, well, the good news is they got all the cancer. It's 99, the tumor was 99% dead when they got it out. So at this moment, he is cancer-free. And I almost hesitate to say that because it sounds so miraculous. And it is miraculous.
Kathleen and George went through a rough time, but the foundation of their faith made them fight this battle with the support of family and friends. Likewise, you and I have gone through difficult times. The question is, what is that making you carry on this battle? In our next episode, we will be talking with a family from Venezuela facing the unimaginable. Stay tuned for this coming Sunday, March 5th at 7 p.m. Houston time in our YouTube channel. Thank you all.
Put your hands up, everybody know